Hello everybody and welcome to the Steam Summer Sales Daily Deal, the final day of the Steam Summer Sales. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing quite well. This is Encore Day, and we have The Walking Dead in there again, which is great.
Yeah, okay, so it's the last day of the sale, apparently. I genuinely didn't realise today was going to be the last day of the sale, but there you go. And we've brought back, says Valve, most of the popular deals, don't miss out. So we've got 22 hours remaining, unlike on the daily sections have been up for 48 hours, but for this final one, we literally do only get the 24. And it's just a return of loads of other deals. I have heard people criticising the Steam Summer Sales this year, saying mostly it's just been the same select few titles. And I think the ones that have been featured on the front page, maybe, yeah.
But there's a lot of secret sales going on, aren't there?
Oh my god, I saw this thing. What game was it? Just Cause 2 was on like secret sale for a really short period of time for like genuinely like a matter of cents, like 20 cents or something. Like a ridiculously low price. They've been doing really cool secret sales and things that obviously we can't cover at all. But yeah, they've been doing a lot of really interesting stuff like that. But yeah, the final day, guys, flash sales and stuff going on. We've already talked about a lot of these titles because of the previous stuff, so I don't think we should hang about for too long. Is there anything in particular you want to say about any of these?
If you haven't bought Walking Dead, buy it. That's pretty much it.
Okay, yeah, and we did a full one on that. Kerbal Space Program I would love to look at some point, because it looks like kind of a weird game, but I've started to see videos and stuff pop up of it, and it actually looked really kind of interesting and quirky and cute and fun, so I'm interested in that. Bioshock Infinite we've both played as well. I mean, we haven't really done any content on it. It's half price, but it's a very new release, a AAA release as well. A fantastic game if you've not played it, especially if you've played the first Bioshock. I promise you, very, very cool game. We were kind of different about that, though. You didn't really like the ending of this game, did you, that much?
I understood the ending after my friend explained it to me and everything like that, but I don't know, like, there was some, it wasn't perfect is what I was saying. People saying, oh my gosh, it's the best thing ever. It's just, when people do that, it's just like, okay, you gotta leave room for some criticism. It's the same thing for Last of Us. The game was awesome, but it's the same thing. You climbing up ladders over and over and over again, right? Like after a while, it kind of gets a little stale for that one. There's always criticism for each game, is what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
It's not perfect, is what I'm saying, but it is a good game. Not saying that it's not awesome.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Bioshock Infinite, for me, probably has been one of the best games that I've played, especially this year, in a long, long, long while, I would say. There was a lot of hype about it, but I do think it was justified for that game at any rate. Anyway, yeah, those are pretty much the titles. Today, we are covering one of the daily ones. We're having a look at Torchlight 2. So, let's roll the footage, and why are we looking at Torchlight 2?
Well, right now it is 75% off, so it's $5 in my currency. How much is it for
in
you?
America land? It's £3.74, 75% off again. So I actually think that's like a pretty much perfect conversion of the currencies. A very, very cheap game for some. That means it's basically what, like a £15 title at the best of times, or like a $20 title for you.
Yeah,
but it's well worth the money, I would say. This is actually a game we've played before, right? Before we've
This is one of our first games that we played together, kind of just to test the waters and see if we hated each other. And
yeah, after we played Trine, and we're actually quite far in it. So basically, we could do this video and just like jump in where we left off, and get you guys some footage of a little bit further into the game where things get slightly more interesting. This is Act 2 of 3, right? And there's like 4 acts sort of in this game, I think.
Right, and they're really long. Just to give you a comparison, I know a lot of people who have bought Diablo 3. So for the people who bought Diablo 3 and weren't really satisfied with it, you might want to take a look for this game, especially for $5.
Basically, while me and Matt were playing it, I haven't played Diablo 3. I don't really play much of this genre. I mentioned that on the Path of Exile video. Basically, while we were playing it, it was Matt going, oh, this is so much better than Diablo 3. Oh, this is doing this better than Diablo.
So much more content. There's so much more content, though.
We were like,
seriously, we played hours. And by the way, we went on the hardcore characters. I guess we should talk about a little bit of that later. But yeah, we played for like, I don't know, like 9 hours one day, and like we would have finished Diablo.
Yeah,
right then and there.
We were like near the end of Act 1, and I'm like, okay, so this feels pretty good. It feels like we're coming to the end of the Act 1. Where do you think this is right now in terms of Diablo? And you're like, oh yeah, we would have completed the game by now. We would have been done with it. It's a really weird idea. Like, just from that, you make that game just sound bad in so many ways.
Well, I'm pretty sure it got fixed now. I haven't visited in a while, so any criticisms that I give Diablo is
Probably
in the
outdated,
past.
yeah.
You probably outdated. They did, but I'm pretty sure they didn't add an expansion pack yet. I haven't heard any big news online like, oh, they're finally adding more story, because there's not much story there, and the story that was there was very alright.
Okay, and that's actually a pretty good segue back to this game, right? The story. Today we were like, because we haven't played this for a while, we did play it a fair bit. It was one of those games we played a lot but then sort of put down. We got to be honest about that. But we kind of met up today and we were like, okay, let's cover this game. What do you remember of the story? And your response was basically nothing, like silence and then a laugh, right? So
right. There is voice acting, to give it credit, by the way.
Yeah, okay, so there is a story going on, something to do with... I'm someone that, I try to focus on the story, I try to do this stuff, but it's kind of hard to follow for me. I mean, this is a sequel to... This is Torchlight 2, so this is a sequel. It's not necessary that you played Torchlight 1, as far as I'm really aware, but having said that, I'm still not, like, 100% down with really what was going on in the plot with this, especially after returning to it a few months later. In general, I think this game would really benefit from having a good, like, really engaging kind of plot line and nice cinematics and stuff, but it doesn't really have that. It's got a lot of big dialogue boxes, which if you want to take the time to read, then I'm sure there's some interesting stuff going on there. But I don't know, I mean, when I was playing with you, we just sort of kept the pace going, and I don't really remember focusing on it too much, to be honest. Like, I can't even remember why we're in a desert. So
yeah, we didn't really focus on the story too much, and that's kind of why we don't really remember much.
Yeah.
But I mean, for just to get into the characters, because this is what you're gonna be playing, it is gender locked. And by the way, this is a big thing in these types of games. You do see your weapons and all its effects if you equipped it on your character.
Yeah, right, yeah. Like, you were loving that as well, right? So everything you equip has a real... Like, you can see my pistol here. It's, like, glowing kind of green, and that's because I've got a socket in it that makes it deal poison damage, as far as I remember anyway. So that all does have a really big effect, right? And you were quite enjoying that. We were playing very different guys as well, right, our tunes. Do you remember what all the classes are and stuff? Or at least what
yes,
yours
so
was?
there are 4 classes. The Outlander, which is like a gun type.
That's me.
Which you were playing.
Yeah, yeah.
The
It's
Ember
like,
Mage.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
Get the Ember Mage, which is, you can guess, it's the mage, like a battle mage. The Berserker, which is like kind of like a hand combat, and the Engineer, which is like a tank, and he has little robots that follow him around that heal and stuff like that.
And you're the Engineer. Wasn't it just that you can spec to be quite tanky though, right?
Yeah. There's different ways you can spec. I spec mostly tanky because, I wanted to fill that role. I always like being able to take a lot of hits. You can also spec into damage and all sorts of things, like spec into your cannon and do a lot of damage that way. There's a lot of ways you can do it, and each character can have like different weapons as well.
Yeah.
So you don't have like the same weapon.
Like, for me, I've got a choice between loads of different range stuff. I'm kind of like, for people who play Guild Wars 2, I'm like, imagine a mix between an Engineer and a Necromancer. I'm like a medium armor, gun-slinging range guy that summons bats and poisons people and explodes bodies and summons minions at the same time. Pretty interesting character class. Another thing about the characters too, a big thing from this game actually, is kind of everyone has a pet. You create the pet, you like choose who the pet is at character creation, and then it's like solid, it's there with you. The loot system is basically your inventory fills up really quickly, but then you just dump it all on your pet and the pet can go back to town for you. And the penalty there is you spend like 2 minutes or whatever playing without a pet at your side, and then you just sort of, they will come back and you're golden, you get your gold. And then there's, okay, so to segue completely out of characters, what's going on here? Because this was really cool, right? We were like, okay, let's get some footage. And we like really lucked out on a very cool dungeon that we started playing through, right? So this is Act 2.
Yeah, definitely.
And do you want to... What's going on with the light here, basically?
So basically, you have to stay on the light or you'll get damaged if you're not inside of the light. So it doesn't damage you too much when I was out there. Because
you're a tanky bastard, that's why. Because you're like, tank is all hell. And I'm like...
If you go out there, you probably just disintegrate.
I'm busy, like, eating 60% of my health, like, from taking a tiny lick of damage from people. Ridiculous. Sorry, unless I dodge it.
So a lot of the dungeons tend to switch it up a bit, like, and this definitely switched it up from the first act. I think I don't remember seeing like something crazy like this, and it starts going faster, and you won't be able to, like defeat the bosses back there. We had to leave them back there because we had to really destroy them in order get all that loot.
We have these double traps here as well, so we've got to stay in the light, and at the same time we've got to be dodging these blades that are coming down. You guys will see as well in the footage, like there's like the stage itself is forming as we go. Like you'll see just there on the side of the screen, there's this platform coming in. There's a lot of really cool stuff actually. It does take a while to get to this. I remember there are kind of a lot of sort of blandish dungeons, I think, really. I think that would be pretty fair to say. There's like loads of different environment. Well, actually no, there's not. Okay, so there's 3 acts. And each act is a different area of the world, right? So there's not actually too much variety that we've seen. Really?
Right.
Or do you not agree with that?
I think there were pretty good areas, because I remember enjoying a lot of those areas, and you go into caves and they'll change the way the caves look and stuff like that, and the enemies and the bosses will randomly spawn, like this one right here. And I thought it was pretty good. I mean, yes, like this right here is totally different than the last act. The last act wasn't this diverse like this, and this is the type of stuff you won't see in Diablo 3. Like at all. My God. I'm sorry, it just comes to mind, and it's just, you don't see this type of stuff. They really did a lot of customization when it came down to these dungeons.
Oh, that's so good. You just mentioned customization. It's a good time to get in the game as well, because in April this year they like released like lots of modding tools and stuff for the game. So like it's proper open. You can mod the crap out of this and do what you want. Like the guys that made this Runic, they really tried to set up. Actually, I think the people that made this sort of were the people who made Diablo 2 and like left Blizzard, and they were like, no, we're gonna make an ARPG the way we want to, and then they sort of left it very open. There's no like world money trading and all this kind of stuff. It's just sort of a raw game as they see it. At the same time, I don't think Runic are making games of this genre anymore. I do remember, I didn't really follow this that much, but I do remember seeing an interview in which one of the guys was like, look, this was a fun game to make, but everyone is so picky about what they think this genre of game should be. Everyone's got their idea of what this should be, and we're gonna sort of move into, you know, greener pastures, as far as I remember anyway. It's only vaguely relevant to what we're talking about with this, but yeah. I mean, we don't have too much more footage after this. I wanted to show off this other dungeon as well with like these giant ass tentacles and stuff. And this is generally the game, you know, it's a bit like with I am saying the right game, right? Path of Exile. That was the other ARPG we played recently. Yeah, we did. You know, it's sort of a lot like this. You know, it's a pretty simple kind of game. It's a lot of running around, a lot of clicking, but it's got great loot system, and it should feel quite rewarding. Like for me, I loved fighting these guys. Like just very heavy impact, shooting them and then watching them explode and stuff. It was pretty cool. Yeah,
just to go over the bases though, you can pick what points go into your stats, like power, defense, and all that. You can pick what tree you go into, and there's a lot of diversity there. Probably in each tree you get around 10 skills, and each tree has like 3 passives or something like that, somewhere around those lines. Probably a little bit more skills, and plus you can, it's not online only, by the way, and there's 6 players that can be in your map at the same time.
So that's something we just played this co-op basically, but I reckon 6 players would be pretty fun to just run around like with these sort of massive, essentially, zergs. I think the game does scale. We were going to look this up before we filmed. Do you ever figure out how much of this is randomly generated, like the terrain and stuff?
No.
Like, we can't really remember how much is. I'm pretty sure there is an element of randomness to this, but to what extent that is, I can't fully remember at the moment. There is a very cool quest that goes on in the game where basically you have to like collect these robot parts like throughout all the acts, and eventually you'll create this awesome like thing. So there's lots of like weird little side quests and stuff, but I think it's all set in stone rather than, you know, randomly spawning quests and stuff in particular. The enemies and stuff, you know, the idea is you can like basically clear a zone, go back to town, and then like later on return and everything might have respawned. So there is an element of replayability there, but I don't think they like went massively like on the random side of things. Anyway, yeah, this video is basically going to end with this boss fight. Is there anything else we want to mention? Except this boss fight was damn cool.
Nah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I think the level cap is around 100. There's a new game plus, I'm pretty sure, that you can just keep replaying it on a harder difficulty.
There's mods.
There's a hardcore mode that, you know, When Potatoes died with.
Whoa! You don't reveal.
Oh, you thought I forgot to mention that, huh?
Yeah, we were playing hardcore characters, and my first hardcore died. 'Cause I'm glassy, right, and it was a new game, like my first guy like died, and he just got nuked instantly. We were in this dungeon. We thought we were doing fine, like we were killing stuff, and then just boom, I just exploded, and it was the worst. Do you remember that? Like those weird bat things or whatever they were. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Like, and you almost died too, but you had like your shield and you had all your health and your armor. Yeah, so I like had to replay all the way back up here. Which, you know, I think it was fun though, dude. It was really cool playing a hardcore character going through this.
Yeah, definitely.
And actually as well, this is the end of this video. This is the end of the Steam Summer Sales. What we're hoping to do with the next couple of daily deals, guys, is we're going to be looking at a lot of games with, like, based around permadeath and sort of survival and stuff, and maybe even be competing together against that kind of stuff. So do look out for that. That should be pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that should be pretty awesome. Okay, that's a good segue. There you go, guys. This is Torchlight 2. The last deal we'll be covering of the Steam Summer Sales. Of course, there's a lot of stuff going on. Get in now. All the dailies have come out. The main bit of advice everybody offers for this stuff is wait for it to be on the daily, right? Well, they're all done now, so if the game you wanted to buy hasn't popped up yet, it won't for any cheaper than it already has. So just go nuts, basically. This is the last day, and the trading cards I think will be sent in the games.
All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed looking at Torchlight 2. We had fun playing it. I think we did, right?
For sure, dude.
And
yeah.
all right, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
And you pause.